Hello and welcome to the Hidden Discovery. The Olympics is considered the largest sporting event in the world, with athletes from around 200 countries participating and over 5 million people attending in person. Additionally, nearly 3 billion people watch the Olympics via TV and streaming platforms. Given the event's massive scale, you'd think that countries would be eager to host it, anticipating a flood of tourists and global attention. However, the reality is quite different. Most countries now shy away from hosting the Olympics. But why? Before we dive into it, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our latest videos. And by the way, we've launched this new channel called The Hidden Discovery, where we share long, fascinating, and mysterious stories. Make sure to check it out. You'll love it. Now, let's take a look at the statistics of countries that have hosted the Olympics over the past 20 years. Back in 2004, 12 countries submitted bids to host the Games, and the committee eventually chose Athens, Greece. In 2008, 10 countries bid, and Beijing, China, was selected. Since then, interest in hosting the Olympics has been steadily declining. In 2012, only 9 countries applied, and this number kept decreasing until only 2 countries bid for the 2024 Olympics. The situation became so dire that the International Olympic Committee, IOC, took an unprecedented step, awarding the 2024 Olympics to Paris and the 2028 Olympics to Los Angeles simultaneously, fearing that no city would apply for the 2028 Games. Although this trend is surprising, the roots of countries' reluctance to host the Olympics go back decades. Concerns started during the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, one of the most politically charged events in Olympic history. Just days before the opening ceremony, protests erupted against the Mexican government's spending on the Olympics rather than on social programs. These protests led to clashes with the military, resulting in 200 deaths and over 1,000 injuries. During the medal ceremony for the men's 200-meter race, American athletes Tommy Smith and John Carlos, who won gold and bronze, respectively, raised their fists in a Black Power salute to protest the treatment of Black Americans. The IOC and the U.S. Olympic Committee deemed this act against the spirit of the Games and expelled the 2 athletes from the Olympic Village. After these events, the IOC found itself in a difficult position as no city wanted to host the Olympics. Eventually, only one city stepped forward, Los Angeles, on the condition that it wouldn't have to spend much money and could reuse existing facilities. The IOC, having no other options, agreed, and the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics turned out to be one of the most financially successful in history. This success briefly reignited interest in hosting the Olympics. However, as competition to host the Olympics increased, the IOC started imposing more and more stringent requirements each year. New venues, luxurious accommodations for athletes, and additional sports all required massive investments from the host countries. Instead of sticking to the successful model used in Los Angeles, the IOC kept raising the bar. For example, Sydney built 15 new venues and housing for 100,000 people, Athens constructed 22 new facilities, and Beijing built 12 new venues. This graph illustrates how the cost of hosting the Olympics has skyrocketed over the past 30 years. For instance, the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics cost the state $1 billion, whereas the current costs range from $10 billion to $25 billion. And these figures only cover the direct sports-related expenses, not including the cost of new public transportation systems or infrastructure projects that many host cities spend millions on. When we take a closer look at the actual expenses, we find that Beijing spent $45 billion on the 2008 Olympics, Russia spent over $50 billion on the 2014 Sochi Olympics, and Tokyo spent $35 billion on the 2020 Olympics. All these cities ended up spending far more than their initial budgets. The biggest problem is that the IOC begins issuing directives to the chosen host country, requesting new buildings or transportation systems between specific locations, which the host city is obligated to fulfill, often at the expense of the national budget. As a result, the final costs often exceed all expectations, as seen in the case of the 2012 London Olympics, which were initially projected to cost £2.4 billion, but ended up costing the UK government £13.5 billion. After hearing all this, two questions naturally arise. First, don't these countries make millions of dollars from advertising, broadcasting rights, ticket sales, and the influx of tourists? The answer is yes, there are indeed revenues and deals made. However, when you add them all up, they still fall short of covering the expenses incurred by hosting the Olympics. For example, the 2016 Rio Olympics cost Brazil at least $13 billion, but all the revenues from the Games amounted to only $9 billion, a portion of which went to the IOC, leaving the country with a significant deficit. The second question is, shouldn't the host country benefit from long-term tourism due to the global attention and visitors during the Olympics? This issue has been studied extensively by economists from top universities worldwide, and the research consistently shows that the long-term tourism boost is almost negligible, even in countries with strong tourism industries. In fact, tourism actually declined during some recent Olympics. For instance, tourism in London dropped by 5% during the 2012 Games, and in Beijing, it dropped by more than 20% during the 2008 Olympics. On the long-term economic impact, studies indicate that the effect of hosting the Olympics on a city's economy is far less positive than expected, with many host cities falling into significant debt afterward. In conclusion, while it might seem like the infrastructure investments made for the Olympics would benefit the host country, the reality is often different. Take Russia, for example. When it hosted the 2014 Sochi Olympics, it spent $8.7 billion on a railway and highway project connecting Sochi to the Olympic venues. Economists consider this project one of the most unsuccessful in Russian history. Similarly, Rio de Janeiro spent $4 billion on a new metro line connecting the beach area to the Olympic complex, but after the Games, it serves only a small fraction of the population, despite the city's desperate need for a metro line in densely populated areas. However, the line that would have served those areas was never built because of the Olympics. Due to all these issues, most countries now think long and hard before bidding to host the Olympics, considering it a massive investment with little to no real return. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's another major controversy involving France's hosting of the 2024 Olympics, but that's a story for another time. If you'd like to hear more about it, let us know in the comments below. One of the most shocking facts about dolphins is that they kill other marine creatures for fun. Researchers have observed very bizarre behavior from bottlenose dolphins, which are the most common species found in marine parks. They noticed that these dolphins attack porpoises for no apparent reason. Porpoises, which are small marine mammals that live alongside dolphins, belong to the cetacean family. Although they look like distant relatives, dolphins grab and drown them without even eating them. Researchers concluded that dolphins do this purely for entertainment or to assert dominance. Dolphins also exhibit aggressive behavior towards their own young, a behavior so common it has its own name: dolphin infanticide. Male dolphins will kill young calves that are still nursing to force the mother into mating again. This reveals a darker side to dolphins. They are capable of killing simply to fulfill their desire to reproduce. If you're shocked by what you've learned about dolphins and how we've been misled to think of them as cute and harmless creatures, you're not alone. We've been conditioned to believe that sharks are the ultimate villains, depicted as the natural enemies of humans, attacking us without reason. But studies show the opposite is true. Most sharks avoid human contact and generally don't attack unless out of curiosity, mistaking a human for another marine animal like a seal, or by accident. When they realize their mistake, they usually swim away. Adding to this, most sharks have poor vision, only seeing clearly within about 15 meters, which often leads them to confuse humans with their natural prey. Humans, on the other hand, are the real threat to sharks. We kill around 100 million sharks annually, often just for their fins, which are used to make soup in several Asian countries. Even in their interactions with dolphins, sharks are often the victims. Studies show that the relationship between dolphins and sharks is usually tense because dolphins are the ones harassing sharks, not the other way around. Dolphins make loud noises and play around them, which is why sharks avoid swimming near dolphins. In fact, sharks of all sizes are vulnerable to the ocean's top predator and largest dolphin species, the orca, or killer whale. Despite its name, the orca isn't actually a whale but rather a member of the dolphin family. Orcas sit at the top of the ocean food chain, capable of killing any marine creature, even the great white shark, which they often kill just to eat its liver before leaving the rest. When it comes to diving or swimming with sharks, you'll find that many divers swim with sharks without any issues. Take, for example, Ningaloo Reef in Australia, where people swim alongside whale sharks, which are giant, spotted sharks that are completely harmless. They swim with people, pose for photos, and there's no trouble at all. And whale sharks aren't the only peaceful sharks. There are many others, like sand sharks, gray sharks, and even tiger sharks, that are generally safe to swim with. But when it comes to dolphins, despite their friendly appearance, they are often troublemakers, which is why many marine life experts warn against swimming or diving near them. In summary, when we look at the statistics and numbers concerning sharks, we find that most of them are peaceful, not attacking humans or dolphins, and are actually victims of humans and dolphins alike. On the other hand, dolphins, from the largest to the smallest species, pose a constant threat to sharks, whether for fun or to assert dominance, acting like a gang ruling the ocean. And that's it for today. Who made it this far? If you're still here, you're the best. Give us a thumbs up so we know how many of you made it to the end. And don't forget to leave your suggestions for future episodes in the comments. Until next time, peace.